Hi. Welcome to Ptr ARM TV. Today's video we will talk about the 7 worst fire incidents in the Philippines. Without much farther ado, let's begin with our topic. Though the Philippines is known for disastrous typhoons, there are a number of fire incidents that left a mark in the country's history. Due to the unexpected number of deaths and the extent of damages to properties, here is a list of some of the worst fire incidents in the Philippines. Number 7. Ozone Disco Tragedy.
Magandang gabi bayan! Sinimulan ngayon ng Quezon City Government at ng mga ahensya ng pamahalaan ng malawakang investigasyon sa malagim na sunog na naganap sa Ozone Disco sa May Timog Avenue, Quezon City. Ayon sa pangunang investigasyon, sumobra sa kapasidad o bilang ng tao ang nasa loob ng disco nang maganap ang sunog, bukod pa sa posibleng overload sa mga linya ng kuryente.
Ozone Disco was the local go-to weekend hangout place of college students back in 90s. On March 16, 1996, a lot of the young people who went to the club wanted to unwind and celebrate the end of the school year and their impending graduation ceremonies. Everyone was having fun until the disc jockey's booth caught fire. At first, some of the clubbers thought it was part of the special effects. When the fire grew, people rushed to the only exit, which only opened when pulled. Since the door was being pushed due to stampede, it trapped most of the club's attendees. Out of the 350 clubbers and 40 employees in Ozone Disco that night, 162 people were killed in the fire and over 90 people sustained injuries. Several people were charged for the tragedy. It was only in 2014 when 7 officials of the Quezon City government were found guilty for anti-graft and corruption in connection with issuing permits with the Ozone Disco. Number 6. The Wig Factory in Marikina. In just 3 hours, 42 people died while 79 sustained major injuries. The fire started in the first floor of the wig factory. Because of the highly flammable materials, it quickly spread to the upper floors. Most workers were trapped because the fire exits were already consumed by fire. Some workers were stuck in upper floors risk jumping, but they sustained fatal injuries. Number 5. Orphanage House in Manila. On December 4, 1998, a fire broke out at an orphanage in Paco, Manila. Caused by faulty electrical wiring. It was 2 a.m. and most of the children and their caretakers were still asleep. Out of the 70 people who were inside the establishment that night, 28 died, most of them orphans. These were the kids who were trapped on upper floors. 2 kids even went missing and are presumed dead. The fire broke out day before a local company was to host a Christmas party. Number 4. Manor Hotel Tragedy. The Manor Hotel in Quezon City had over 170 people staying throughout its 6 floors on August 18, 2001. At around 4:30 a.m., a fire broke out on the 3rd floor, and the smoke prevented most guests from coming out of their rooms. One would think that they should have just climbed out of the window, except that their windows had metal grills. A clear violation of building safety standards and regulations. Later investigation also revealed that the hotel lacked other safety measures, such as water sprinklers, fire alarms, emergency lights, and fire exits. A total of 75 people died, and 35 more were injured. Most of the casualties were participants in a Christian crusade, sponsored by the Texas-based Don Clowers Ministries. Most of the dead were found in the bathroom where they tried to escape the smoke. Number 3. Kentex Footwear Factory.
This factory fire has killed at least 72 people. What made this fire so deadly?
Okay, Christy, 72 factory workers, most of them breadwinners of their families, died in the fire incident here in Valenzuela City. And most of the charred remains were already retrieved and brought to this village hall for forensic processing. Now, based on the initial investigation, fire officials are now certain the footwear factory fire began from welding sparks from repairs on the roll-up gate at the ground floor.
On May 13, 2015, a factory that produced flip-flops and rubber shoes caught fire when welding sparks ignited chemicals that were, unfortunately, stored near the entrance of the factory. It took 5 hours before fire was completely put out. By then, 74 people had died. Most of the corpses were found on the second floor, and most of them were badly burned, reduced to charred skulls and bones.
Namatay ang 72 katao nang masunog ang pabrika ng tsinelas ng Kentex sa Barangay Ugong, Valenzuela noong ika-13 ng Mayo. Matapos ang trahedya, lumutang sa mga investigasyon ang mga paglabag ng Kentex sa Fire Code at Labor Code.
Survivors of the fire blamed the inhumane working conditions of the factory. 2 years later, Valenzuela City Mayor Rex Gatchalian was charged with graft and reckless imprudence resulting in multiple homicide and multiple physical injury charges. However, the Anti-Graft Court's Second Division junked the indictment of Gatchalian. Number 2. Nccc Mall Davao Fire Incident.
Mahigit isang araw nang nasusunog ang malaking bahagi ng isang mall sa Marikina, Davao City. 37 call center agents po ang unang iniulat na natrap sa gusali.
Bandang alas 9 kahapon ng umaga, ilang minuto bago magbukas ang Nccc Mall, napansin ang usok mula sa gusali. Naririnig ng mga bumbero ang boses ng mga na-trap, pero hirap sila sa pag-rescue dahil nasa 4th floor ang mga naipit sa sunog.
2 days before Christmas, a season where most people go to the mall for shopping, during the time of the incident, a fire engulfed the Nccc Mall in Davao. The fire started in a short circuit at the ceiling of fabric section. The fire went on for 32 hours, killing 38 workers, most of whom were call center agents, whose office was located on the 4th floor. Authorities later found out that there was no functioning sprinkler system on the 3rd floor of the building where the fire started. Control valves for the sprinkler systems were also manually turned off. Number 1. MV DOњA PAZ Fire Tragedy.
What is the world's worst peacetime maritime disaster? It is not the sinking of the Titanic. It is this ship, the ill-fated DOњA PAZ, that just 5 days before Christmas in 1987 sailed into infamy with a loss of possibly 4,000 souls, many of them burned alive in this inferno at sea.
The passenger ship DOњA PAZ was on its way to Manila from Leyte. At the same time, the oil tanker MT Vector was carrying 1,050,000 liters of gasoline. Shortly before midnight of December 20, 1987, just 5 days before Christmas, the two vessels collided into each other. This ignited a fire that spread quickly on board. Survivors would later recall that, aside from the ship, the sea also appeared to burn. The result of the gas and petroleum leaking from the ship. A reported 4,000 passengers died in this world's worst peacetime maritime disaster. The tragedy was exacerbated by the lack of life jackets and the overcapacity. Of the passenger vessel, at least 2,000 passengers were not listed on the manifest. Those are the 7 worst fire incidents in Philippines in the last 50 years. Thank you for tuning in. See you again soon here at Ptr ARM TV.